Memao Aquaba Stronko so Ediaba POG Media so Mestresses are fee and our Jumedian so subscribe like to Jumedian share Nema Afofro and so answer and can be kindly click on the notification bell no so send the any news be to platform no so also wahunu the air call and the air the air by yanko ye Jumedian so na yemfa in some dono and the embra wa ye bo edi ewura a year to say OSP a insense na we and a investigative a journalist baako ede a nsem bi aba to ja watcher and answer or a secret a Gmail be from a OSP officer I send the brain upon a some investigations be to say a this a detective or the nsem pa ba be go pay ya nyagro and ya enim say OSP so a just say na so I shepe ye efa ni remover ne ehon kro ne bana nsem na dem dodo na ye da yabo ba yenko na enkokoti abra this a investigative journalist in some the air to ja.
What do you believe, if you believe any at all?
What of the Lord? Samson, I think I would believe Martin Pebu over the OSP at this point. Why? In the past, I would not have believed or doubted information coming from the OSP, which is supposed to be a citadel of integrity. In your interview with Martin Pebu, you mentioned that the Fourth Estate published the report which said that the SML investigation started in 2023. That was an official report from the Office of the Special Prosecutor, which many media houses published. I did not have reason to believe or even suspect that such an honorable office might be lying in its report. Then, early this year, officials of that office reached out to me on the 29th of January 2025. And the call was to the effect that you petitioned our office to begin investigating SML. We are about to start the investigation, and we think it is proper that we understand the petition. There are some backgrounds you may have which is not in the petition or which may not even be in the documentary, so tell us. So we scheduled a meeting, and that meeting came on the 31st of January. There was a follow-up email from the officer who was leading that charge, the investigation at the time. And this email came to me on the 5th of February 2025. And the email said I should provide them some information for, quote, the preparatory process for the investigation. And it was in line with the fact that they were about to begin. When I saw the nature of the evidence, what they were looking for, this was not, none of the people who were major targets in the investigation was involved. They just needed something from the periphery, which is fair because when you want to begin an investigation of this nature, you start with the soft spot, at least get some information so that when you are contacting or reaching out to the targets, you know what you have. So that is there. Then I also intercepted a diary of action from the Office of the Special Prosecutor. And the first entry on that diary of action taken on the SML matter was entered on the 29th of January 2025 at 12:40 p.m. And it summarizes the story and then the nature of the petition. Then on the 30th of January 2025, there was an entry in which someone who is supposed to be a supervisor says or gives some instruction, and I'm reading that instruction to you. Please proceed with the preliminary, and I'm emphasizing the word, proceed with the preliminary investigations needs and prepare an investigation plan and identify the persons of interest we will need to interview and appropriate departments and agencies to provide information. Samida Akko, who is sitting in your studio, said that at the time Ernest Akore was leaving the country, the OSP did not know that he was a person of interest. This diary from the OSP shows that the persons of interest are identified at the preliminary stages of the investigation. Ernest Akore is mentioned in our documentary as having signed that letter for Ken Ofori-Atta. Ken Ofori-Atta is mentioned. Ernest Akore left Ghana in November 2024, towards the end of 2024, and this was about a year after we petitioned that office. If the office had done any work, it would have identified him as a person of interest. So, Samson, I'm saying to you that it is difficult to believe this office. This is the office. The last time Samida Akko spoke on your show, he said the office had saved $2.7 billion that would have been paid to SML. $2.7 billion translates into 30 billion Ghana cedis. I didn't say anything until he started to say that, well, they uncovered more, and I came up with evidence. And I spoke to the special prosecutor himself, Kisi Ajabeng, on the phone. And I told him that the entire contract sum for the SML, the 5-year contract, was $500 million, a little over $500 million. So where did you get this $2.7 billion from? He claimed that it was in the PPA approval. My argument is, if there was a PPA approval letter, but between the contracting parties, there is an agreement to pay something that is far less than the approval. Maybe you go to PPA, the method was the main reason they went to the PPA. So you say you are going to use a single source method to procure a car that is worth 500,000 cedis. They give you the method, but between you and the car dealer, it is 300,000 cedis. Kisia Jabin told me that Albert Akurubu, who led that SML investigation at the OSP, and Samida Akko think the way you think, but I think differently. But that is even not the case. In my investigation, I had a PPA letter, and the letter did not in any place state the 2.7 billion that Kisia Jabin claimed. And then, eventually, I published the PPA letter and challenged the OSP to also publish which letter they claimed. If you go to the OSP's website now, they have come back to the same figure, the 500 million that I mentioned earlier. So I'm saying this to make a point that if an office of this nature is coming up with information, it is difficult at this moment to just believe everything that they say.
Okay, so holding on there for me, Sammy, you just heard Manasseh Azuri. The reason he will not believe anybody in your office who says anything. And I had asked Martin Pebu the same question, that why is it that he seems to believe anything anybody tells him about the office, but he's unwilling to take what the office tells him? He's giving you the reason.
The first time I've had an encounter with Manasseh over this. There is a government WhatsApp group that we are on, and he brings this issue up and he's answered. In fact, as he said, he's had the opportunity to see firsthand some of the work that we have done. But I'll take it one by one.
Let's clarify first.
Yes,
it's not a government. It's not a government WhatsApp group.
No, I'm trying to say that
on that group.
I'm trying to say that
No,
it's
I just
created by the
people may get a wrong impression.
Yes.
It's not a government WhatsApp group. It's a WhatsApp group of independent minds, of CSO leaders, and people like you because of your offices, as in the key accountability institutions who are also there. OSP, Shiraj, Auditor General, even the Supreme Court has a representation because we have been given a job to do, which is not influenced by the state.
The point I'm making is that it is created by the government because we are charting a new path on our anti-corruption policy.
And ethics.
So that's the point I'm making.
Thank you.
So let's go on. So let me start with this 2.7 that he doesn't appreciate. I think over and over, we have told Manasseh that there's a big difference between investigative journalism work, which I know how to do as well, and then criminal investigation. And that when investigative journalists do their work, like Anas does his work or he does his work, it's just a spark, which then gives law enforcement agencies some grounds to begin an investigation, and that their investigation may be more thorough and deeper than what you do. And so he should not be insistent as if what he found may be the ultimate truth. So OSP, and he just made a point that OSP has now changed something on his website, and it is completely false because OSP doesn't change things on his website. These are things that we have published, and it's public record. If you go on the OSP's social media account, you know the date it was published. And you notice that it was published way before Manasseh's issue about 2.7 billion. And it is simple because when the OSP was done with this work, we did the calculations based on how much SML would have earned if the contract had not been cancelled. And this calculation is based on a formula that PPA approved. And the formula is based on the 2023 figures for lifting for crude and for gold. Strangely, when it comes to, I think, crude or gold, they do the calculation in cedis. But we do know that everything is done in dollars. And then when it comes to the oil, they do the calculation in dollars. So when we did the calculation based on the 2023 formula, it came up to $173 million for, I think, gold and 2.6 billion cedis for oil. I don't know if I mixed them up, but these are accurate figures. So we already put that out very early and said that this is how much Ghana has saved by cancelling the contract. So it's not a Manasseh that has done any calculation or discovered anything, or OSP has now put it up on its website. The dates are there and they are very clear. If I had time, I would have shown you the dates because I can check it immediately. Then we also, in the course of communicating, said that, well, although this is the amount, if you do the official calculation, we've stumbled on some documents that shows that in going to PPA, they had put a ceiling as to how much they would take within the 5 years. And it came up to $2.7 billion. And so it is wrong for us to even say that we saved the nation $173 million and 2.6 billion cedis. But then, because if we are not cancelled, they were going to work within the 2.7 billion. And when you look at the PPA approval, it didn't come with figures. It only came with formulas, right? It came with a formula that you use based on the 2023 liftings. But 2023 liftings could change. So we can understand why they had to put a ceiling of 2.7 billion because the liftings could change at any time. And we were seeing that they were pecking themselves at the highest level so that if tomorrow they say $2 billion, when you question, you say that, but they approved the formula based on the letter we gave you and approval. Now, what I think Manasseh is struggling is that he wants OSP to conduct the trial in the open, in the media. We have consistently said that this is a very sensitive case, a very complex case that has taken us almost.
Ugusua Osha Jumadie and Masremo, offer do you subscribe ya subscribe like to Jumadi and share Nema Afro and so and can be kindly click on the notification bell no so send be the news be to platform no so also who the echo and the POG Media ya wo any pa the Mount Jibre ne hwe Jumadi no my OSP and a kasama for some wadako and na ode in some do no the air to justify a OSP office and why it should not be abolished and why it should continue to perform its work, especially with Kisi Ejabenyenya Trust to Musane Beya, Ninuma Odi na Nebede, Ebikoyi Yanko, na Yemfa Diakano and Famesum.
2 years or less than 2 years to complete. These are not things we can put out there. SML lawyers are listening. Every time they are sponsoring things on Joy, on TV3 and the rest, they are paying attention to some of these things. So in the criminal investigation and trial, there are certain things you can't just be talking about. But we were putting up the figure to say that even the 173 and the 2.6 billion, they are even low because if the contract had continued, they were going to earn more. So that's about that one. And I don't know how difficult it is. Then the other one is that I've been wondering, what is it that Manasseh is seeking? You have brought an investigative report. They have taken the work. They've done it. 8 people, including Ken Oforiatta and Enasa Corey, have been charged. Now, your predicament, I don't know what the predicament is that we started the investigation late, and he has given data, so I'm very happy. Now, he claims that he has a diary of action, which, I mean, I cannot confirm or deny, because as he said...
It's a fact, I've seen it, he has shown it to me.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean I cannot confirm it, because we know that
It's a diary of action.
Yes.
That obviously has been leaked.
I understand.
From your
that's why I'm saying that.
He's
that's why I'm saying that.
Journalist.
That's why I'm saying that.
You know.
Okay. That's why I'm saying that he has a diary of action that he said that investigation started in preliminary in 29th. Let me give you one example to show how we tell him that he doesn't know how to do the OSP job better than the OSP. Ken Oforiatta, he was invited on the 24th. He quotes a diary of action and says that a supervisor says that start with preliminary and identify the people who we are going to investigate. And he says it was dated 25th.
Of January. 2025.
It tells you that...
And you say that you had written to invite Ken Oforiatta...
Even on 24th.
On 24th.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just giving these things to tell him that it's not as he thinks. So it's true that there's a particular team. A particular team may be assigned a task. The mere fact that...
In your law, you refer to them as panels.
Yes, panels, I understand. And then even before, it is not the supervisor of a team that will tell somebody to commence preliminary investigation. It is the SP. If you read LI 2374, it will tell you that after SP has considered the underground work that has been done, that is when he will commence a preliminary, he will say that they should go into preliminary and then full scale. Now, this is a very complex matter.
You're saying that by the time your officers reach out to Manasseh, that we are commencing preliminary investigations, some work would have been done.
A lot of work would have been done.
And so it is wrong for him to assume that that time was when the investigation started.
And I'm saying that for the team...
And that by that time, Ken Oforiatta had already left the jurisdiction.
Yes.
So you cannot claim that you were powerless and you would have, stopped him, because by that time, you had not even started investigating him.
Let me develop the point. So the point I'm developing is that it's the special prosecutor that would have given a team a job to do. If that team is given a job to do, say, go and pick something from Manasseh, the problem I think he's having is that he's assuming that he's a star of the investigation. And so by the time he was called on the date he gave, 29th, that he should come, and a particular team talking to him, that's when we started. So that team could say that they are doing their preliminary works. But I'm saying that that preliminary works would have been done by the special prosecutor and then assigning teams. So if a particular team come to you and they use a language such as preliminary works, it doesn't mean that that is when they commence. And I'm saying that this is a complex case that the OSP had to bring in a lot of experts way early. And remember that the OSP too had to wait for the KPMG report to be done and then thoroughly assess it to be sure whether it answers all the questions. Do we need to continue or the KPMG job does the work. The OSP in its half-yearly report, we continuously brief and say that we had considered the KPMG report. We have come to the conclusion that there's still more case to answer, so we will continue with our investigation. And this was way in 2024. If you read the June half-yearly report.
Manasseh and his team do the SML investigations and bring us the expose in 2023 of, was it November or December?
And they filed the petition in December
of 2023.
And SML, the president...
You are saying that the president made an intervention asking for an investigation or an audit by KPMG. That ended sometime when? April of 2024.
No, it ended in March, but the report was finally out in April 2024.
And between that time, you are saying you had done some work. You didn't wait until 2025 to begin work.
Yes, so when they brought the report in I think it's either 25th of December or something, the president had appointed KPMG somewhere 29th, or I've forgotten the dates.
So he's telling you that you have said, and when I spoke to Martin, he confirmed that, or he raised that issue as well, that you had said that by the time Ernest Akori was leaving Ghana, he was not a subject of investigation.
Thank you very much.
Wait, he was not a subject of investigation. Yes. So you should not be blamed that you watch him to go out.
No,
he is saying Ernest Akori left this country in November of 2024.
He's not saying we told him. A lot of the information.
Just hold on. Yeah. If he left at that time, in November of 2024, and by that time, he was not a subject of investigation or a person of interest, how do you convince us that in January of 2025, about 2 months later, Kenoforiata, together with him or whoever, were actually under your radar and you wanted to arrest them, but the powers that be, enabled their escape?
I don't think that we said we wanted to arrest, but I'll explain to you. So another point that Manasseh makes, which is so inaccurate, is the fact that he said something that because there was a letter that was signed by Ernest Akori, it means that, or he makes the point, and this is where I talk about this thing for glory. The fact that you do a documentary and you see a letter signed by a minister does not automatically mean that the minister has done something wrong. An investigation will need to go into it, because in criminal investigation, merely signing a letter authorizing payment.
But you eventually have charged Ernest Akori.
Yes, so I'm coming to the point. I'm coming. We charge Ernest Akori not based on the letter that was signed. And I said that these are you see, a lot of people have not taken time to read the investigative report thoroughly. I can understand it's voluminous, and these things will play out in court. That's why we said that at the time Ernest Akori left, he was not a subject of investigation, and that we won't shy away from it. Ernest Akori was not a subject of investigation. It doesn't mean that preliminary investigations had not started. And it doesn't mean that at the time of preliminary investigation, you discovered Ernest Akori. You have no idea when we were able to pin a lot of people.
Okay. So he raised these issues on a question of trust.
I understand.
But these issues are not exactly the subject for which I asked the question. So let me come to Kofi Bento. Kofi, I said that, please hold on. You have spoken for quite a while, but I understand you had already told me that, Martin has spoken for too long, but you are here on a panel. Now, again, I asked that question I asked to Manasseh. Let's go back to the story we want to talk about today. Whose report do you believe?
Aha any ade dwumadie no ABC ade am POG Media yenjam mu POG Media ye wo ene pa ade mam sane da bia ye ka ekyem no ye ne mo a mestre won subscribe ya subscribe like to dwumadie no share na ma afoforo enso ensa enye de enka be kindly click on the notification bell no so sane be de any news be to platform no so am also wa hunu de airco ene de ba POG Media ye ne mo amakram.